Hey friends, and welcome back to the channel for another video today. I feel like we have a lot to catch up on. It's been a long time. I do have the baby's gender, and I did do a poll here on the channel, and most of you voted boy, so we're gonna get into that today, and just some updates, and uh, yeah, we'll just see where the conversation goes. I didn't take any notes, so let's get into this video. So I do want to start quickly with the gender because I do know myself and I won't be able to do this entire video without saying he or she. And actually I'm going to do my best to not call this baby by name because I've been doing that here lately. So I'll do my best because we're not telling that just yet. So I want you guys to quickly just keep watching. I'm going to play a video to reveal the baby's gender. So there you have it. We are having a baby girl, and I'm still soaking that in. The only person that I specifically know that said girl is Miss Deborah, Miss Paint by Nani. You were right. As far as the poll, there were a few votes for girl, but it doesn't show me names or anything. But Miss Deborah did let me know in the comments that she was very confident that I was having a baby girl. Now, to talk more about that, I'll be honest, I did have a gut feeling. However, I never said it verbally out loud. I was trying to really get God to be on my side. I feel like the Lord showed me a couple years ago that a girl was a part of my assignment in life. And that's actually one of the reasons that I shared with my husband that I did not want to have a baby. And I just figured if I would just show God how much I was team boy, and if I kept speaking it by faith, that maybe I would just have a boy. And in fact, when I did the last video, I actually did mess around and say that, but then I just scratched the whole video and refilmed it because I didn't want to put that out there. So yeah, I actually did say to you guys that that was a part of my assignment, so I might be having a little girl. And then I watched it back and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna say that. I don't want anyone to know that. Let me just keep that to myself. And it didn't work. So here we are. So I'm not completely surprised. But my husband and I, honestly, we were a little disappointed. And I know it's really not good. Like, I feel bad for feeling so sad about it when we got the results. And that's one of the reasons why I don't really believe in gender reveals. Like, if you're gonna have your mind made up on a specific gender, I don't think it's much of a party to celebrate that in front of everyone and then get to be disappointed. And then they have these trending videos where these women are like trashing their party. And of course I would never go that far. But just because I knew in my heart that I wanted a boy, I didn't want to have a whole party and celebrate the odds of, 50-50 chance of me not having a boy, especially because I know what God said. So with that being said, I will quickly just share the story of how we found out. Okay, so we're jumping back into the story of how we found out the gender. So I told you guys in the last video that they told me the results would come to my phone on an app. So it was supposed to take within 8 to 10 days. I was leaning more on the 10 days side of it, and especially because the weekend, plus there was a holiday on Monday, so I didn't expect the gender to come until the following Tuesday, but it ended up coming on a Friday. So that was like 3 days sooner than what I expected. So I was out when I got the email saying the results were in, and then so I rushed home, but I knew my husband would be asleep because he works nights and sleeps during the day. So when I got here, I was just hoping and praying that he would be waking up soon, and he slept for maybe a good 3 hours or so. So in that time, I was just pacing the room. I couldn't really get anything done. I was supposed to be restocking the groceries in the refrigerator, but my mind was just racing. So finally he wakes up and I'm so eager And I'm like, come on, we gotta check the gender. And to my surprise, he was more mellow than I expected him to be. So I'm trying to set up this whole app thing and it's giving me a whole headache and it's just not working. So he's like, well, I'll just take you down to the office and we'll ask in person. So I ended up first even messaging my doctor on my Heyyyy app, or there's an app, I don't know, but I messaged my doctor personally, and then I was like, I know she's not gonna respond right away, so we ended up going down to the doctor's office. And when we get there, the lady at the counter said that several people had the same issue that day. So she was like, I can just print it for you. And she's like, but I'm looking at the results right now. What are you guys hoping for? And so we both say boy, and she's like, okay. And then so she's like, oh, by the way, did you want the medical results too? And I was like, oh yeah, I'll take that too. Because I completely forgot it was a whole like genetic testing about different types of diseases and things like that. So I was like, yeah, I can take that too. But I was just so focused on the gender that all of that was going over my head. And so finally, she prints it out and she's like, I'll fold it up and put it in an envelope. And my husband's like, no need, we could just take the paper. So we take a few steps away from the counter and we open it up and it said female. So we, I don't even know how to describe our reaction, but we were disappointed. So we get in the car, we take a few moments before we pull off, and we're just really trying to gather ourselves, if you will. We ended up driving down to Carter's to kind of hopefully like get excited about seeing some of the baby girl clothes, because we had only been looking at baby boy clothes. And so that's when I decided to make the gender reveal video. And at that point, I did get a little bit more excited. So from there, we went to go get lunch and we just went to the park and sat by the water and we began to discuss some baby girl names. We did have a name prior to finding out the gender, but once we found out officially that she was a girl, we weren't set on it. We were definitely set on our boy name, but the girl name not so much. So we started discussing different names and my husband came up with a name that I really like. So I'm very excited and I've been calling her by name, like I said, and I'm coming around. I'm getting more excited about it, but there are a lot of fears. So I guess this portion of the video is where we can talk about my fears and even some of the fears that I had concerning just having a child altogether. So keep watching. Okay, so as far as why I never wanted children, so we're gonna go back to like high school, and this is taking it back a lot of years. So I want to say maybe 15, 16 years old, whatever age you are when you get with your friends and you start talking about your future and how many kids you want. That's about the time when I just knew I was not gonna have any. So you know, you have the one friend who's like, I want like 6 kids. You have the one that's like, I just want a boy and a girl. Then you have the one that's like, maybe I'll have 1, maybe 2, I'm not sure. And then there was me, and I was like, definitely not, I don't want any. And my explanation was, for one, I just knew we were living in the last days. I know that's a little extreme for me to be saying at 15 or 16 years old, but I could really see the state of the world was a very toxic place and I didn't want to raise anyone in this world. I thought it was very dangerous, very scary, a fight for survival. Like, I personally didn't really want to be alive. And not in a crazy like, but I would always say like, man, I wish I wasn't born into this world. Like, this is a crazy time to be alive. And it is, and it still is, and even more so now than it was back then. So that was just like a fear of mine. And I think just hearing my grandma talk about it so much would just kind of make me nervous, because she was always reminding us of the days that we were living in. And you know, she really emphasized the end times, and I think that played a part as well. But I could see for myself that it was a very dangerous place to be. And yeah, I didn't want to raise anyone up in this environment. 2, I felt like my peers weren't really setting a good example at all. I felt like kids were bad. I felt like girls were fast. Of course, boys were fast, but I don't know what the word is to describe that, because I don't think we call boys fast, but they was they were wild. Okay, so I was just like, yeah, this is crazy, like you guys are grown. And I was very much innocent. And I just didn't really want to have to deal with that because I wasn't going to go to jail or catch a case for nobody. Like, I just felt like that's how these kids were. Like, how is your parents not catching cases over y'all? Because I can't. Like, I don't have the tolerance. I'm not the one to be played with. Like, I saw it so differently back then. So those were my reasons as a teenager. But let's fast forward to adulthood. So when I turned 18, that's when I kind of got more involved in dating. And as out of my mind as I was, because I really had really low self-esteem, really low confidence, and I really settled for a lot of toxic relationships. I really didn't have any standards. But even though I knew my standards weren't what they should have been, I still could see that these men weren't father material. Like, I would never have put myself in a position to have a child with any of the boys that I was entertaining back then. As much as I entertained them, I just knew that's the line I'm not gonna cross. So for me, I just kind of felt like I didn't really see any good examples of fathers. And I was like, not my baby. You guys can't be their dad. So that was a part of it. And that was between like 18 and 23. I just was like, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to have kids with any of these guys. But let alone kids, I never saw them as husband material either. Now the contradiction comes up when I say like they weren't husband material, but at the same time, I never really wanted a husband either. I just wanted a boyfriend. I just wanted a companion. And I felt like it was so confusing because I was serving God, but I was a baby Christian. So I just wanted to date, but I didn't want to get married. And so none of it makes sense. But that's just my logic back then. I just was like, I'm not having kids with none of these guys, nor am I going to marry any of you. And I just don't really have any hope at this point. Now, fast forward, I meet my husband and I'm 24. And when we first meet, we kind of laid it all on the table. It was a very unique love story. So he told me everything. He laid out his baggage. He talked about his divorce. He talked about his children. He let me know his financial status and everything, his everything. And I laid out my stuff. And one of the things that I told him is that I did not want children. And he was okay with that, to my surprise, which I never thought I would find, because at the top of my list, I wanted a man of God. And to be a man of God, most of them want children. They want to be fruitful and multiply. And I didn't think I could get the best of both worlds. A man of God who was okay with not wanting children, me not wanting children. And when he said he was okay with that, I was like, okay, God, maybe this is you. And so there were some other things that pointed signs to the fact that this was a God sent. And I just believe that he was my husband from the gate. Now, back then, did I know it so clearly? No, but I was really trying my best to believe that. But now that I look back over it, I can see that this was a divine connection. So yeah, that was kind of how that started. I was completely thrown off that he was okay with it. He did let me know that he was okay either way. He was like, if you change your mind, I'm good with that. If you never change your mind, that's fine too. I already have 2 sons and I'm okay either way. So he was like, but if you change your mind, let me know. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, that probably won't happen, but I will let you know. So fast forward, we get married, and I definitely can see him being the father of my children, because that was one of the things that really attracted me to him, was the fact that he was an amazing father to his 2 kids. So I was like, okay, he's a good dude. Like he's a great father, you know. So that kind of changed, in my mind changed as far as that. On the flip side, however, I was still concerned about our financial situation. We were too broke to even think about having a child. And because we were so broke, I just wasn't mentally in a good place. So that didn't help the situation. I did not want to give up of any more of my freedom. I felt like I didn't have to completely give up my freedom because the boys were already potty trained and like walking and talking. So it wasn't like I had to raise them up. They were 4 and 6. So they were, in school, in pre-K. So all of that was fine, but I didn't want to give up the freedom as far as like having to wake up through the night and change diapers all night and pack a diaper bag whenever I want to go somewhere. I didn't want to have to give up that sense of freedom. So I just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to, I was being selfish. Like I was still trying to live my 20s out and not have to deal with that. So that was a big part of it. And then the fear of having a little girl, that was always a scary thought. At that time, I don't believe God revealed it to me the way he did later, but I still had this strong feeling that I could possibly have a girl. And I didn't want to deal with that just because I just know what it's like being a girl. I know what girls go through. And I feel like with a boy, it might have been just easier, especially because I could have just been like, to my husband, I would have just let him have to handle a lot of the situations that boys deal with. I don't really know all of what they go through, but just to put it off on the dad would have been easier for me. Raising a young man, like, you're okay, get up, dust your shoulders off. When a baby girl falls, it's a whole different thing. And I'm thinking about all different kinds of details that I really can't even all put into words, but it's a lot different, I think, raising a little girl than it is raising a little boy, and that scares me. But specifically just the heartbreak that girls go through, the insecurities that girls deal with. I know boys have the same issues, but I just know what it feels like as a girl to go through those issues. And so once God did reveal to me that was a part of my assignment, the thing that scared me the most is that I knew that I had to break some generational curses off of my own bloodline. And the main one being the generational curse of fear. And so I've been working actively right now to actually break that curse. And I've just been doing things that make me uncomfortable. So honestly, if you follow me on Instagram, my personal page, you'll see what I mean. God has me on assignment, and I've been filming different reels and just letting him lead me. But I'm just gonna start stepping out in ways that make me uncomfortable, because I don't want my daughter to have to feel fearful of anything. I want her to be bold. I want her to be confident. I want her to know her worth. I want her to know whose she is, and all of those things. And so I'm really working intentionally to break that generational curse of fear. And I feel like I just got all jumbled up all of a sudden. My feet are going to sleep. Ooh. Whew. But yeah, I just feel like I started changing my mind once I realized that I had a void in my heart that only a child's love could fill. And I explained it to my husband that there was just something missing. And I've been kind of paying attention, and I see how different kids interact with their mom. And I'm like, I don't have that, And it just started to create this emptiness that I also can't really explain. And my husband came back and said later, after he had a dream or an encounter, I don't remember, but he told me that God showed him that void won't go away until I have a child, because that is a part of my assignment in life, is to be a mom. And so he told me that, and I started thinking on it and talking to God about it. And I did feel a tug on my heart to have a child, but I wasn't ready to surrender yet. And I gave it some more time. And then my husband, he would bring it up from time to time and ask me how I was feeling. And I started to tell him my heart was changing, but I still needed more time. I told him, but I would know for sure by the time I was 30. So when I turned 30, the conversation came up, and I said, I'm still not sure, but I'll know before I turn 31. So in December, my birthday's in January. So December of last year, I started thinking on it. And towards the end of December, I told him I finally made a decision. And I told him I was ready. So we started trying, and I use that term very lightly. And by February, we were pregnant. So we are expected to have our baby girl this year, December 2nd. So the fact that it happened so fast, it just lets me know that this was divine, and it was God, and he was waiting on me. And so, so here we are. And Also, another reason why I've changed my mind is because my husband and I have fallen so much more in love. We loved each other, but our love wasn't as strong as it is now. And this is my best friend, and I just can't see myself doing life without experiencing this with him. I think it's going to be really fun to parent together, to be on the same page, and we're going to do this as a team, and I just think it's going to be the most beautiful thing because we aligned. Like everything is on one accord. We agree the same. We have the same yeses and the same nos when it comes to certain things that we believe a child should be able to do and should be able to have. And so it's not going to be like good cop, bad cop, but we're doing this as a unit. And I just think that the foundation of our marriage and our example of faith and all of that is going to be such um, just such a blessing to our baby girl. And I think that there's so many kids that either want, a strong household to be grow up in, or, and the fact that we have that, we don't have everything, we don't have all the money, but our love for each other, our love for God, I think that's just going to be a really beautiful example to our child. And I'm excited to do this part of life with him. I'm so excited for that. So with that being said, I think that pretty much wraps this video up. I had some more things to say, but I don't have the storage on my phone for all of that. So we'll just have to make some more videos. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope that made sense. I might have to refilm it because it feels like it came out so jumbled. But that's pretty much what changed my mind. I had a void in my heart. God began to deal with me, and I fell madly in love with my husband. The last 3 years of our marriage has just been amazing. The first 3 were a little rocky and harder, but we're good now. So here we are, and I'm excited. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys in the next one.